Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. The telco sector in Australia is a fascinating space. It's an industry we all engage with every day whenever we make a phone call, send a message or go online. It's innovative, with technology like the NBN and 5G constantly evolving. But it's also a fiercely competitive sector, with a battle between the dominant incumbent Telstra and Optus, the second biggest network, plus a multitude of other players. Kelly Bayer Rosmarin is the Chief Executive of Optus and my guest this morning. Kelly, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Thank you so much for having me.
There's a lot to talk about, so we're going to do something a little unusual on this occasion. This is a two-part interview, the first focusing on Optus in the telco sector, and the second, Kelly, on your career and what you've learned about people and leadership. So let's start with scale. How big is Optus compared to the other players in the market?
It's almost like a tale of halves. Telstra is the biggest. We're about half the size of Telstra. And then TPG is about half the size of us. And those are really the three telco players in the market.
Okay. It's incredibly competitive, or it seems to be. As a consumer, I'm often wondering whether I should change, what I should be doing, that type of thing. How competitive is the market and how much are customers moving around?
It's an extremely competitive market, as you would expect when you only have three players all fighting over market share in a very mature market that's also well saturated with connectivity and communications adoption. So we're all fighting very vigorously for customers. And what you see is that many customers are loyal and will enjoy good service and reward those companies providing good service. And then others are very willing to switch based on the latest deal. But market share doesn't move very far or very fast despite all that competition.
Okay. Is it based on price? Is that where most of the competition is? Or is it service? Is it speed? What is it?
There are a number of bases for competition. I'll start with the ones that have historically been the main reasons why people choose or stay with a telco. And that comes down to the amount of coverage they receive. So how big the telco's network is, how much the connectivity covers the areas that they will be living in, working in, and traveling to. It also comes down to dollars for gigs, the price that you can pay for the amount of data that you consume. And then I'd say service comes next. And by service, I think people mean very traditional service. When something's not working and I pick up the phone, how responsive are they? Or if I need to do something or check something on my account, how polite are they to me on the phone? How long do I have to wait? So those are all the traditional ways in which telcos have been competing for a long time. At Optus, we're really focused on delivering true customer value and innovating. So we're changing the basis of competition and introducing new features that make the network a lot more tailorable to the customer's specific requirements. We call it the living network. It's very innovative. It's unlike anything that customers have seen before. And what it means is that you can get features and levels of control that you can't on other telecommunications services. So some examples of that is we give our customers the ability to donate data that they're not using to underprivileged children who might need it more. Or we give our customers the opportunity to pause any or all of their devices simultaneously so they can have a digital detox or enjoy dinner with their family, or even to the level of pausing the computer for one member of the family who might be gaming too much and won't come to the dinner table.
This is great, Kelly, but I think my children would revolt.
Well, maybe sometimes they would want you to be on pause so that you're not consumed by your email and ignoring them.
Oh, no. I would never do that. Right. But it is a great idea. These sorts of features, I'm interested in where the future lies for a group like Optus, right? Is it kind of becoming a more service-driven company rather than a product company?
I think we're trying to be a combination of both, because what customers are actually buying is a service. The service is the ability to be connected and do everything you want to do in your life when it comes to being connected. And what I mean by that is that we've come to rely on telecommunications services so much without even realizing it. So for work, we have to be connected so that we can work from home, dial into Zooms, connect to the internet. For entertainment, we're connected to stream our Netflix, to listen to podcasts, etc. And to keep in touch with the people we love using WhatsApp, using Instagram, using Facebook, giving them the occasional phone call. All of those things are services that can't be done without the connectivity that we provide. And customers expect it to work and expect it to work for them and be optimized to what they're doing at that moment in time. And we think that the old model of a telco as a utility, where you set and forget in the background, you choose an amount of data, and you don't think about it until you pay your bill, is a really archaic model. And moving into the future, customers should have choices about how connected they are, when they're connected, whether they want to dial it up, dial it down, put it on pause, whether they want to use voice in new and novel ways. I mean, one of the other Living Network features that we've released is called Translate, which is very innovative. It's a world first where we've figured out how to put data over a voice line. The whole industry has been obsessed about putting voice over a data line. And we went the other way and said, what if we could enable our customers to do cool things using a standard voice line? So Call Translate literally lets you translate between two languages in real time over a standard phone line. So you can literally call a normal phone in China and have that conversation translated for you. And we partnered with Google and we leveraged the standard Google Translate APIs. So there's plenty of other applications that we can release now that we've innovated on voice. But the idea is to really enrich people's lives and give them a lot more than just dollars for gigs. Yeah. And give them a lot more reasons to choose Optus and a lot more reasons to stay with Optus.
Stay with me, Kelly. We'll be back in a minute. My guest this morning is Optus CEO Kelly Bayer Rosmarin. Okay, so you've been with Optus since April 2019, and some of these examples you've been giving just show how innovative the company is. But you've also been quite happy to purchase other companies, and I'm sure it's all part of the same mix. If you want to grow, sometimes you need to purchase, sometimes you do it organically or through innovation. Mason, which is Australia's largest mobile virtual network operator. So the operator leases phone and data service from the carrier. In this case, it's you guys, Optus. What's that about? What's that mean for your strategy?
Yeah, well, I mean, first, just to explain, because consumers do see a lot of telco brands, there are only 3 telcos that actually have all the infrastructure and equipment, and that's Telstra, Optus, and TPG. And there's a lot more brands, and what they're doing, we call them MVNOs, mobile virtual network operators, in that they don't actually do the investment in the infrastructure or have towers and radio equipment out there. They lease wholesale capacity from the 3 main telco providers. So really what they're doing is layering a service on the infrastructure that we provide, and they typically tend to compete at a different price point in the market because they don't have that full service offering that the 3 main operators have. Now, Mason was the largest one in the market, and we thought that strategically the telco market in Australia had fallen into a state of extremely low profitability, where none of the telcos are really returning above the cost of capital to their investors. That's not viable and sustainable. And one of the challenges in the market is that we have so many MVNOs that have come into existence over time, and they compete so fiercely at a price point that really isn't sustainable in the market. So we thought that part of the strategy should be for us to acquire the largest MVNO so that we could have a greater influence on pricing and profitability of the overall market. And we could also learn from and work closely with a very nimble organization that's digital by nature and transfer skills from them into Optus and vice versa.
Is it kind of like a Jetstar Qantas model, or is that just ignorant?
No, I think that's a lovely way to think about it. You've got sort of low frills, basic service MVNOs compared to the full service operators.
Okay. Now, Telstra and TPG recently have done the 10-year multi-operator core network deal, which from an outsider looking in, it just looks like they're getting fairly close to each other. If you're saying there's only 3 big players, those 2 being one, what's that mean?
Yeah, it's a really interesting arrangement that's been proposed. It's an arrangement whereby TPG will stop investing in regional areas and will leverage the Telstra network in those regional areas. And they will look a lot more like these MVNOs we've been describing, where they'll be able to provide a different brand and a different price point potentially, but they'll still be using the main Telstra network and all their radio equipment that's out in the regional areas. So we think that this is a deal that might look good for TPG, but the real winner is Telstra, because telecommunications is really an industry where scale matters. There's huge infrastructure costs to go put coverage all over the country. And once you do that, the way to pay that back is getting as many customers on your network as possible. Telstra already has 70% market share in regional areas. And by them doing this deal, even if TPG is successful in getting more customers, that adds to the Telstra network, gives extra money to Telstra, and they get to expand their scale from a really dominant position. So for that reason, it's really not good for competition. It reduces the number of sites that there are in regional Australia at a time when we should be encouraging more connectivity in regional Australia, not less. And it's also going to create a huge market asymmetry when you have the number one player teaming up with the number three player to gang up on number two. In a three-player market, that really doesn't improve competition.
Okay, I mentioned the NBN in the opener. There have been a few challenges on the NBN front, and NBN Co itself is undergoing a strategy reset at the moment. Is the NBN working, do you think?
Look, I think there are many positives about the NBN where there is connectivity all over the country. There are also many challenges with NBN because of the multi-technology solution that they decided to deploy. And we've been working closely with the NBN because we believe that the real strides that need to be taken are strides in customer service. We would like the NBN to be much more focused on end customer outcomes. And to the extent that they want to move around on their pricing, we think it should also come with a much stronger tie to service level agreements, where if the NBN doesn't do what it says it will do, that there's a financial implication to that. So we don't like it when NBN technicians don't show up for appointments, because what happens then is that the customer actually calls the operators, us, Telstra at TPG, when actually it's NBN who didn't show up, and that creates a lot of cost and rework in the system. So the whole system's profitability would improve if NBN delivered better service to customers, both in terms of installation and technicians going out, but also in terms of quality and fault tolerance and less outages, etc.
One final question, Kelly. How do you catch up to Telstra in the long term?
Well, look, in the mobile part of the market, when it comes to consumers, I think we have a pretty much unbeatable proposition. We offer value for money. We're about 20% cheaper than Telstra. Our coverage is outstanding. We cover 98.5% of the population. Plus, we have all these amazing living network features that you can't get anywhere else. We also have great family plans that enable you to share your data. And we have unique things like SubHub, where you can subscribe to all your favorite streaming services and get up to a 10% discount. Optus Sport, which is unique to Optus customers, and a lot of other benefits you can't get anywhere else. So I think on the mobile side, we already have a winning proposition. And in certain areas, we do have more market share than Telstra, for example, in the Sydney area. So I think we've not just caught them, but overtaken them in terms of what we can really, truly offer to a customer. But we've got years and years of incumbency to deal with and to make that happen uniformly across the country. It's only 30 years ago that the market was opened up to competition, and we're doing well on the mobile front. On the fixed front, it's a lot harder. I think people thought that with the NBN coming in that it would open up competition, and it has to some extent, but Telstra's market share has remained quite high there. And then the real area where the market share hasn't shifted and where we need to really invest and change the game to challenge Telstra is in the business and enterprise space. where we have far lower market share and where we're looking to understand what a truly customer-centric proposition will be and how we can make inroads into that part of the market.
Kelly, thank you for talking to Fear and Greed.
Thank you.
That was Kelly Bayer Rosmarin, the CEO of Optus. We'll be joined again by Kelly for a look specifically at leadership, at people and culture, and everything she's learnt running one of Australia's most high-profile companies. This is a Fear and Greed interview. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.